Cheers to the UFC's return at UFC 283 in 2023 and at the Journée Arena in Rio de Janeiro. UFC went back to Brazil for the first time in years and years, like pre-pandemic, I believe. Now, I believe that this main card will be judged pretty harshly because it's the first pay-per-view card at the new $80 price point, which is fucking steep. I think they were $60 when I first started buying them.
Yeah.
We're up to 80. I know
Man,
they were cheaper
I remember when we were
before that.
splitting them as four people, $15 a person. Like everyone would just literally just throw like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and back then beers were a little cheaper too. We just each throw $20 between four people and get a rack of Paps and get a UFC card. Like it was easy.
Fucking greatest times you could have with your boys. Yeah, inflation's a bitch. It just sucks because it seems like I think all fight fans agree that if any of that money was going to the fighters, we would pay it without a heartbeat. Hell, we pay 85. And like, hey, tell me they don't get health insurance and I'll pay 85 right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think most fight fans feel that way.
Well, I
So
think
I feel like we're just like most fight fans feel like we're just lining the pockets of Disney and lining the pockets of Dana and all the guys we root and cheer for. Aren't really reaping the benefits. So it's like us and the fighters are kind of both getting exposed. It's real easy to kind of be salty at.
well, and also only one guy got pay-per-view points in this whole thing, and that was Figueiredo because he actually had a real belt. Like like the light
That's a
heavyweights
joke.
were
But he
vacant, and then
couldn't
Moreno was
headline the
interim.
card.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, man, like Aljo co-main. But a lot of people said that they thought that should have been the main event. Do you think it's like an antiquated, just like put the bigger guys as the main event? I don't think so. I think Teixeira is probably a bigger star than Moreno or Figueiredo.
I
And
think I,
Jamal Hill obviously is going to get American viewers. They haven't had an American light heavyweight champ in a while.
Yeah, I think so. And I also think in Brazil, Glover's a much more respected name than Figueiredo. Like, I think for Brazilians, Glover's a more important person, so therefore he has to headline that card.
I agree. I just wanted to. I've heard a few little people giving some hot takes that like Moreno Figueiredo should have been the main event.
Well,
And as people who nitpick card placement wanted to kick that topic around with you.
I will say for them to be champion and interim champion and in a quadrilogy with themselves kind of makes sense.
Right. Now I gotta say there were things I liked about this main card, things I didn't like. The Walker Craig one I liked because it was a big question mark. When I was at the sports book, I was fucking going back and forth. I decided not to bet it at all. I do say I did like out of if I was going to bet it because you mentioned I bet a lot of favorites, a lot of big favorites, and I parlayed them. However, the only dog I really liked on the whole card, really, as far as like willing to risk my money for it, was Craig at plus 165. Taking Jamal, or I almost said Jamal, Johnny Walker minus 195. It was such a question mark for me. When I was like trying to do my little mental simulator, how does this one go? What does this look like?
Well, and
It's
also
striker versus grappler.
the way this fight plays out is like exactly how your mental simulator would get is like you can't figure it out. There's no way to know this fight would end this
It
way.
was such a weird fight, like from a matchmaking perspective, because like yeah, Craig has the win over Jamal Hill. UFC, I mean, he's not on the same card by accident. Who else does he have a win over? He has another really big. Oh, Ankalaev.
Yeah,
So he's beaten Ankalaev and Hill. So like,
it keeps him relevant.
implying, like a win over Walker, like maybe a fight away. I mean, it's real interesting. It's MMA math, and it's not necessarily the best way to match make, but the conversation's there to be had, right?
Yeah,
And
no
then,
doubt.
And Johnny Walker coming off a loss to Jamal Hill, so like the common opponent. I don't know, bro. Like this fight worked for me because, like I said, it got my attention from like an intrigue perspective of like kind of like when 1993, the first time they set up the cage and they wanted to find out what martial art was the best. Kind of reminded me of that, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what does this look like?
A little
back then, I
bit,
didn't
but
know what it looked like.
But like all it looked like was Paul Craig shooting a shot and eating hammer fists and being too dumb to put a hand up to block the hammer fists.
So, and I know I probably do this more than I should, but I don't think anybody summed up this fight, not all the fights, but this fight better than Chael Sonnen. He said, if you're going for a single leg on me, do you have one of my legs or do I have two of your hands? Fucking, is that not what happened here?
Yeah. Yeah, because Johnny Walker looked down and was like, oh, and just started like beating him, and then he didn't react.
Full chill, Mark. Like he gets it wrong 20. But he nailed this one. Like, and that's not 100% of the time. We've seen single legs work. I don't think that's the greater point to be had here. Like, obviously, when Daniel Cormier, he had one of your legs. You didn't have both of his hands. You know what I'm saying? But
Oh yeah.
In this particular jiu-jitsu guy grabbing your leg and trying to fucking fuck around, dick around, get a trip, whatever, not like an actual wrestling single leg. I think this was because you hear them, like, I don't know, people, analysts are kind of talking out of both sides of their neck here, because you'll hear them say the same thing, like, oh, you can't strike to defend takedown, you better address. I think that's, different, but it worked for Johnny Walker here, man. I don't know. There's not too much to break down besides that. The whole. I think Chael broke it down the best. Seriously.
Yeah, like
did Johnny Walker? Did Paul Craig have Johnny Walker's leg, or did Johnny Walker have both of Paul Craig's hands?
I think clearly he had both of Paul Craig's hands, because Paul Craig was put to sleep by Johnny Walker. What, 2 minutes and 16 seconds into round one?
Yeah.
Kind of one of those weird finishes that you only expect to see from Paul Craig. Like, you expect his fights to end in weird ways like this.
Or Johnny Walker.
Yeah, both. Yeah, great point.
Literally, but that's what was kind of nice for me. It was kind of nice seeing Johnny Walker kind of right the ship. It's weird. You don't want to see anybody be like a bust. Johnny Walker was like a first-round quarterback bust in the NFL. Like, hit all the hype, new prospect, big name on the block, and then it started going real bad for him real quick. Like,
Well, hurt himself with the
like
worm and like hurt his shoulder badly doing it.
We're then wormed again after this one. Unreal, very stupid.
And he got knocked out by Jamahal Hill, which like obviously plays a part in being on this card, the same as Paul Craig.
That knockout is one of my favorite knockouts ever. I love reviewing that. That was in our knockout of the year.
Yeah.
Category for prime cut. I loved it. No, so Johnny Walker gets the knockout, like you said. Not too much X's and O's to break down. Really, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but wasn't it? So Walker was 12. Paul Craig was actually 9, believe it or not.
Yeah, which is like unbelievable to me.
Weirdly enough, Hill's at 7 still on the rankings. Hasn't been updated yet. It was at 7.
So crazy.
What do you do next? He beat 9. I mean, did you just do obviously go like maybe Krylov or Lionheart needs a fight? Rockets, how's the leg feeling? Does he need a get right fight?
Have Ryan Spann and Johnny Walker already fought?
I'm gonna look it up because I don't know. I'm not trusting my gut real quick. I got the laptop right here. Johnny Walker. That's what kind of hate they.
Yeah, they have, and Ryan Spann got knocked out by him in 2020.
Oh, he knocked out Ryan Spann.
Right.
Ooh, that's interesting. But I don't think they need to necessarily run it back.
Well, with the way Ryan,
he hasn't lost to Krylov. He hasn't lost to Krylov. I'd rather see him run back that loss to Krylov, if we're being honest.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about Johnny Walker is he's fought like everybody.
Yeah, Corey Anderson. Khalil Roundtree.
Like, he's fought, like, and that Khalil Roundtree fight aged well.
The Jamahal Hill loss is it's not gonna age well. You can't like that.
You can't get slept like that and age well on it.
What do you do, man? Do you just the Krylov rematch? I mean, I was gonna say Krylov or Smith, right?
Or Ozdemir. I think Ozdemir's on the table here.
You think? I don't hate it. It just I don't know what it does.
But I don't know if you're trying to really throw that many eggs on Johnny Walker's basket right now.
I don't know if it's an eggs and basket as much as like the guy is a physical freak and he is a tough matchup. Like, I feel you. It's a tough spot. I think the UFC is going to have to decide, or like, did they use his name to build up some young killer? That were like whose names is like a Carlos Olberg, like a fucking, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. Like I mean, the Walker thing's
that's not off the table.
The Walker thing's interesting, and the Paul Craig thing is interesting too because like They both fought so many guys. The UFC can kind of just throw them against whoever they want and be like, well, like it doesn't matter. You've already like been through the ringer.
Neither of them really like are owed anything, and
Right.
neither of them are like totally washed and like irrelevant. It's a weird spot. They may be used as gatekeepers.
It's kind of the best spot for the UFC.
Draw into either of them as a gatekeeper. They're like maybe that's why they're good gatekeepers. Because goddamn, anybody that can figure out those puzzles, you know what I'm saying? Like imagine a young unranked guy figuring out the Paul Craig puzzle. Like you're gonna learn a lot about that kid. Johnny Walker too, freak matchup, like 6'6". I mean, like NBA body.
But is it not also just the best place for the UFC as like the matchmakers because like they can pretty much give them a contract for whoever and be like, you don't really have a reason to turn us down on this.
But see, that's why I don't fuck with the Ozdemir matchup. It just doesn't. No, I fuck with Craig Ozdemir, maybe, perhaps, or if they haven't already fought. I don't know. I kind of like Walker Smith because here's why. It's kind of a get right fight for either guy. Like whoever wins that, like you kind of answer a question, right? Smith and Walker are kind of the same guy. Are they relevant? Are they not relevant? It kind of is like a bracket. Like it kind of answers that question for it.
No, that's true. That's true. I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, so like the back end of light heavyweight definitely needs to settle itself out.
For sure. But let's keep it pushing, man. We got Lauren Murphy, Jessica Andrade, in a fight that we thought was going to be super relevant in women's flyweight. May not be the case.
Yeah. Also thought that the odds might be more well reflected here. I thought.
Expand upon that because Jessica Andrade's coming in minus 490. My ticket got her minus 500. Fuck me. And then taking on Lauren Murphy plus 390. You like the line? Love the line? Hate the line? What do you expand upon that?
So I thought that Lauren Murphy like would justify being plus 390 all day. I thought Andrade would beat her, but I didn't think it'd be this far apart.
Well, so this is one where I'm kicking myself for not getting to the sports book earlier in the week. This line moved a lot. I believe, and I could be wrong, I believe you could get Andrade in the 300s at one point, and it got bet to minus 490.
See, that just surprises me.
Andrade's going to win this fight. I don't know, bro. I loved Andrade. Like, I was hammering this like 3 weeks out.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely liked Andrade to win. Don't get me wrong. I just thought Lauren Murphy was really going to, like, have a better showing, I guess. Because this wasn't competitive, even.
See, I didn't, bro, because here's why. Lauren Murphy, we talk about plus athletes, bro. She's a minus athlete. And
that's true.
Now, that's not to say she's a minus heart or a minus chin or a minus technique, even. Minus cardio, no, none of that. But minus athleticism, like explosiveness, speed, it's not there, dude. And Andrade is all that. Andrade is a little fucking Energizer bunny, little fucking electric fucking spark. And bro, I laid the minus 500. Now, granted, it was in a parlay, but that's how I felt.
So, I mean, man. You're not wrong, and like looking back at it now, like, do you want to go round by round? I think the only round we got to go.
We have to.
I guess for scoring,
we have to go round by round because the scoring is important, and it's a conversation to be had. Like how many, not in like the way you think. Like how many 10-8s did you give the draw?
Yeah, well, I'll ask you first. How many did you give?
I gave her 3.
I gave 3 too. Nobody else did, and I thought it was crazy.
Psychopath fucking Jeffrey Dahmer weirdos for fucking like what does somebody have to do?
Bro, 30-26 hurt me. I was like, there's no and Sal Diamato, who only had round 3 as 10-8. And it's like
if you sick fuck.
Yeah, like round 2 was definitely a 10-8, and round 1 was almost assuredly a 10-8. Round 1 was the closest, and it wasn't even close.
Bro, I mean round 2. If you don't score round 2 at 10-8, like you literally are a sick fuck.
And he didn't. That's what I'm saying. Like to not score round 2 at 10-8 is crazy.
Like Cormier, I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna say like Cormier's squeamish or Cormier like doesn't know what this sport's about or Cormier. Like it's fucking Daniel Cormier. Like if anybody has a right to an opinion, it's that fucking guy. and he was like, he wasn't even a broadcaster at that point. He was like a fighter advocate. He was like, throw in the towel.
Yeah, like
Like
talking
I don't know
about the one
Curtis
coach
Taylor.
that was like on the edge, like he was like,
And
I don't know why they're not throwing it in.
tweet out from our Beefy Boys Twitter account. Follow us at Beefy Breakdown. But talking that exact same talking point about how like nobody's at fault here besides Murphy's corner. Like they're fucking assholes. Like and if
Yeah,
your corner's her husband, that's fucking trash, dude. Like as a husband, like fuck the she can I believe in her. Like no, you gotta like look out for her well being, dog. Like what are we doing here? Like the husband should have been the first one to throw in the towel.
Yeah, so that's what
Wild.
that's
like,
what.
hey, be mad at me later, babe. Like be mad at me, fine. Like you'll be okay. Like
Yeah, like sorry
be
you don't
mad
have brain damage and swelling on your fucking like cerebral cortex.
dude. That was it was like one of I mean, I did enjoy watching it. Like
It was tough to watch.
Like I said, yeah, no, it was tough to watch. Like I'm a guy who bet Andrade and was just like, I'm not enjoying his ass whooping. It was very brutal, dude. Like not in the fun way either. Like because it was so one sided. Brutal's awesome when it's going both ways, and we have a war and we have a dog. And now, granted, do we have a Cody candidate? Yes, we do.
Oh yeah, chin of the year all day long. This might have to be the winner, low key. Like I don't know. This is one of the worst ass beatings I've ever seen in the UFC.
Bro, like we're there. Like we're.
I mean, I scored it 30-24. Do you know how bad you have to get your
Me
ass
too.
whooped for a 30-24?
The fact I really have Chin Odie bookmark. The fact that no judge go to 30-24. Like I understand not every judge. It should have been two 30-25s and a 30-24.
Yeah.
The fact that it. But verdict had this at 30-25 too. Like I don't get it.
I didn't see Laura Murphy doing anything in round one to warrant her not getting a 10-8 because she was still getting beat up in round one.
Piece the fuck up. Like it was like yeah no I'm actually really stoked that he scored a 30-24 too because I was like questioning myself like
Yeah, because I texted
like,
you live and I was like, this is hard to watch.
yeah no it was hard to watch. I mean I know we haven't said dick about X's and O's but there ain't too much X's and O's. It was Andrade doing whatever she wanted.
Yeah, like whatever she wanted.
Like the only thing stopping Andrade was like her own cardio, and that's not even like a dig. That's like a very smart. It's actually a compliment. Like she managed her gas tank and still put on a 30-24. Like, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Like, if she wanted to really shoot her low, I feel like she probably could have got the finish. But with somebody that's that hard to finish, probably the right like fight IQ decision to just 30-24.
Yeah, I mean, I go back and forth because, like, when you're beating someone that bad, like, do you not just go for the takedown and the choke? Like, at what point do you not just, like, decide, like, they're so beaten
That
and
might have
defeated?
been Andrade being a fucking savage.
That's what I'm saying is, like, why are you just going to beat someone up like that? But
Yeah, no.
I guess in this case, like, with the ranking that Lauren Murphy was carrying, it becomes important.
Murphy is like the, on paper, like, jiu-jitsu girl.
Yeah, so if Murphy's at 4 and you're at 6, and you just dog walk her like that, like you pretty much have to fight Talos Santos or Manon Fiore next, or for the belt against Shevchenko. Like I think you get to jump Alexa Grasso.
Hear what she was saying? That's why I'm salty at all of this. So Andrade has this super essentially #1 contenders match at women's flyweight. He calls for the title shot at strawweight.
Oh yeah, against Zhang Weili. Yeah, you're right.
I'm like, Andrade fumbled this. Because, well, you could argue Shevchenko and Grasso's already been announced, right? So, you could argue best case scenario, Andrade draws into either Fiore or Santos. If Fiore's a bad matchup for her, Santos is a very tough fight, good fight. I don't even know how I feel about that one. I think at strawweight, she already kind of knows what she's getting herself into. Maybe name value. like maybe she could draw. I mean, there's the strawweight contenders are. I mean, there's Rose, there's Lemos, there's nobody. And Andrade's in the rankings in both weight classes. Holy shit! I didn't realize that.
Yeah, yeah, she fights in both. That's what I'm saying. She's
But,
4
I
and
mean,
6.
so does Shemaev, but he doesn't get a ranking in both.
But she actively can make both weights.
I didn't know. I'm mind blown. Call me a casual if you want. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that was like an option on the table.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is like, I understand the call out of Weili because like Lemos, I don't think deserves it more than her after that performance.
I agree. So like, it's annoying from like a ranking standpoint, but she may not be wrong. And like, I think the strawweight title is probably sooner than the flyweight title.
Yeah, like she's like, I need to let flyweight clear out for these 2 fights. Like, I'll come and get this one, and then she can be a champ 115, 125. Like she kind of has that pathway carved out if she can beat Zhang Weili.
Yeah, if flyweight's tougher, the top 4 flyweight is better than the top 4 in strawweight.
Right. Well, and it's like she can like circumvent the path if she goes and wins the strawweight belt and then gets to call out up a belt. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, come full circle. I hated the call out at first, but I see why she did it.
Well, and she's top 5 in the weight class, so like even more so than Volk. Like if she went up, she'd be like, "Look, I'm top 5 in the weight class, and I'm the belt holder 10 pounds lower. Like I deserve the shot more than any of these girls." Which I can't say. What argument do I have against that?
Yeah. I mean, they're grasping at straws with Grasso. I'd rather see the Santos rematch than the Grasso fight personally.
I'm surprised Fjord didn't get the shot.
I didn't. Yeah, I don't. The Grasso fight seems really random.
Seemed like forced.
I don't like it. Did Grasso even ask for it? Stings a little bit. And then you got number 5 taking on number 12. You got Neil Magny plus 390. Dog taking on in the welterweight division. And this fight, I go back and forth with how I feel about it being made. Am I happy to see Neil Magny get what he asked for? Kinda. He did call out Gilbert Burns after his last fight was a win, right?
Yeah, and Gilbert Burns doesn't turn anyone down, which is to his own detriment in this sense because like I kind of wondered like Gilbert Burns, why are you fighting back? Like Neil Magny just beat D-Rod.
He beat D-Rod, and before that, he lost to Shavkat like really badly. So that kind of told me all I needed to know about where Neil Magny stood in the division, what Shavkat did to him. The D-Rod fight, D-Rod's not ranked, kind of irrelevant in a way. Drawing, but he's done a lot of heavy lifting for the company. UFC kind of owed him one, especially for taking on Shavkat. I get it. I don't love it. If that makes sense. Like I understand it. I don't love it. And then Gilbert Burns, Gilbert Burns likes to stay active, which is why we love him. He's a dog, which is why we love him. But what did he stand from gain to this besides a paycheck?
I guess a paycheck? Like, that's all he got?
A paycheck? I guess a paycheck and a favor, like him fighting back, him being active, him saying yes. You'd like to think that that's like some cachet with the company, right? I mean, or he's Chael put out a whole video saying like, "How are we gonna fuck Gilbert Burns this time?" Like,
I mean, that's all they do. He's the most company man on earth.
Like to his own detriment. But that being said, once again, laid the -500. I knew Gilbert Burns was in a different class than Neil Magny, like just from following the sport.
Yeah. There's the A class welterweight and the B class welterweight, and that's exactly what we saw here.
Like this is a first round NBA matchup of 1 versus 8. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, literally. I mean, 5-12.
Maybe you can go 2-7. Maybe 2-7.
I mean, 5-12 is a real matchup in the NCAA tournament, or I guess it's what? Yeah, 5-12. It's a real matchup, and very rarely does the 12 get that upset.
That's what this was. I thought the money line was like right where it should be, to be honest. And round 1 sub, arm triangle, big takedown, minutes, 15 seconds. I mean, Magny was never in it.
Took him 90 seconds to get the
I was-
takedown, and then it was the most methodical, like beautiful jiu-jitsu I've seen in a long time. Like
it was
every
the
single
first
thing
time
he
I've
did
seen
was like
somebody
chess
like-
match.
You can tell this is going to be a guy that played football and didn't do jiu-jitsu describing this, but he would almost like juke with his jiu-jitsu. Like he would like fake this way but go that way.
Yeah, it was like chess match. Like he was setting up moves by like going into other positions and then leaping back into his move he wanted.
He would go like from half guard to guard, but then getting half guard on the other side and like shit like that. Like it was which Neil Magny can grapple. I mean, it was impressive. Like I said, I mean, it sounds kind of like I've shitted on Neil Magny. I think Neil Magny's as top 12 as it gets. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
That's exactly where he is. Like he is a gatekeeper pretty much to the top 10.
he is not bad at MMA.
No.
He's very good at MMA. Well, he is not something we've never seen before. He is not. I hate to use this word. It's probably the saltiest way I could put it, but he's not special, man. You know what I'm saying? He's just not. He holds records. He's a tough son of a bitch. He's a company man. He's a good fighter. Definitely UFC caliber. There's a lot of things you can say about him, but there are things that he is not, and he is not a top 5 welterweight.
No, that's exactly how I feel. Is like, and I love him, and like he's been in the UFC for so long, but to be in the UFC so long and to be at this ranking and to always get up to like 7, 8, 9 at your highest and then fall back down and then climb back up and then fall back down. I think that's a roller coaster effect where you never get as high as you got the time before, right? Like, kind of like a ball rebounding.
Yeah, and man, I'm happy for him. I mean, he's carved out a good life for himself. Like, I'm sure his contract's pretty nice just from longevity. He's a good. I think he has our respect, like as UFC fans. But is he a contender? No. Was he a threat to Gilbert Burns? No. Should this fight have probably been made? No. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, that being said, Gilbert Burns calls out Colby Covington, which, if this was a video game or something where you can just make people fight, I love. Like, that makes all the sense in the world. Burns Covington makes all the sense in the world. It's a fight night main event. It's awesome. It's a great fight. I don't even know who wins that. But, to make. However, Covington has this weird, like, lawsuit thing going on where I've heard somebody, like, granted, there's just some YouTube fuck, but they're like breaking down the kind of lawsuit, saying that pretty much like if he doesn't fight, he's gonna win at least $1 million off Masvidal, maybe more.
Yeah, no,
So,
that's true. Like he's not going to fight
and
because he
so-
stands to win a lot more by neurological damages.
He's claiming neurological damage, so you can't take a fight during that.
Right.
It's also going to be real fugazi if he takes a fight 2 months after he wins that lawsuit. You know what I'm
Oh, I'm
saying?
here
Which
for
is
it.
Probably if I'm Masvidal's lawyer, that's all I'm arguing. Like the minute you give him this, he's going to go get more brain damage in 2 months.
And then Colby's lawyer is obviously going to be like, well, we don't know when that is, but when hopefully someday he can return to fighting.
Yeah, both kind of have a point. How do you feel, man? How do you feel about the call out? Colby, I'll say this, bro. If Colby doesn't fight in 3 months, you got to put Randy. I mean, we're going to do that to Francis, and we're going to do that to all these fucking guys. We're going to do it to Yuri. Like you can't just have Colby at 2 for just ever and not fighting nobody.
So I think the call out Colby makes the most sense. Like far and away makes the most sense, right? But then when you think about the lawsuit and the fact that Colby's not going to fight, and like that's just 100% the case, I think you have to make him fight Bilal.
Everyone's been saying Bilal, and it's, dude, you know what sucks about that?
That's salty for both guys.
Yeah, but the fight is awesome. Like,
The fight's
as a guy,
so
it's probably
good.
It's probably going to be the 3rd fight on a pay-per-view. It'll probably, these $80 pay-per-views. Like, am I here for that? And is that high level as fuck? And is that world class? And does that really answer a lot of questions? It's also probably a #1 contenders match. Like, there's so many awesome things about it besides the fact that both guys get shafted. And they get shafted for weird political reasons. Colby with the lawsuit, Hamzat with the weight class situation, tweener status.
Leon and Usman having to run it back, and then if he
Have
beats,
to run it back.
I guess if he beats Leon, it is like that is definite because that is 2-1 against him because they are 1-1 right now.
That's another thing people say. Like, should Burns wait for the loser of that fight? And that's bigger than Colby or Bilal. And there's an argument to be
I
made
think,
for that. But
I
Burns'
think,
nature. Burns is active. Like that goes against everything that makes us love Burns.
and Bilal's pretty
Burns is
active too. I don't know if you listened to him on Rogan's podcast, but like,
bro, it was such a good episode. Like, I turned it on. Like, I usually check out like 30 minutes of each Rogan episode. Like, I don't listen to the whole thing of every one. I like Rogan, have for a lot of years. I could not turn it off, bro. Like, I like every time I got in my car, I turn on Spotify and fucking like, dude, that podcast was so good. Besides Bilal saying fudging, it was really hard to like.
yeah, like he doesn't curse because he's so Islamic. Like that's crazy. Didn't ever realize that.
I get it. It was cringe. The podcast was phenomenal though.
Yeah, fantastic pod. Gave a lot of insight to Habib and the Dagestanis and like their mindset and their approach and all that. That was really cool to learn. But even more so, showed me that he hates Colby. So like he would love the fight with Colby as well. But he talked about the neurological suit and understanding that. And then he also has the same agent as Usman and is it Burns?
No, I don't think it's Burns. I think it's just Usman. But see, and that's problematic, dog. Because if you mean to tell me that, like, your agent's supposed to, your manager's supposed to have your best interest in mind, right? There's literally 0% chance that Ali about Bilal's career than Kamaru's career. So, like, by definition, you're not getting what you paid for. You're kind of a mark and a sucker. Like,
yeah, I've never understood that, man. How can you represent two guys in the top 5 as an agent?
And you're taking money from both of them. It's but that's why everybody says managers are slime balls.
And Ali Abdelaziz is a slime ball. Conor McGregor's been saying that for years.
I fucking like it, dude. And he overplays the Muslim shit to get in with these guys. It's a thing. That's why I think Bilal's going to get hosed. Not because Dana's going to hose him, because Ali's going to hose him.
That's a good point. Or like he'll just work with the UFC to hose him because he's the guy that works with the fight makers. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a tongue-in-cheek deal.
Yeah, bro. I completely agree. I got to take a quick piss and grab a quick beer, and then we'll dive into this comment.
Yeah, sounds good.
Anything else to say? I mean, to be honest, besides we all know that Burns, Hall are gonna get fucking hosed.
Pretty much is exactly what's gonna happen. But yeah, man, I'll give some background to this quadrilogy we're running into. So, for anyone at home that doesn't realize what the co-main event of UFC 283 is, it is the Flyweight Championship between the interim champion Brandon Moreno and the current champion Deiveison Figueiredo. If you've heard about that before, well, I'm not surprised because this would be the tetralogy, quadrilogy, whatever you want to call it. It's their 4th fight. For Figueiredo, it's his 4th fight in a row against Moreno. Moreno fought for the interim championship. I believe that was in September of last year against Kaikar France and won in impressive fashion. Looked really good. Won because Figueiredo was out due to a medical issue. Now they're back. Here to settle it. Final match, you would assume. I mean, unless they had a draw again, which would be like, I can't imagine the odds on 2 draws out of 4 fights. It almost can't be possible. But, so that being said, this was one of those things where Figueiredo had looked really good training with Cejudo, and essentially when he was there with him in those 2 fights, he had his best 2 fights against Moreno. Their very first fight was pretty much the coming out party for Moreno, where we all got to see crazy Mexican chin. Got the draw. Second fight, Moreno wins. Looks great, gets the finish. Deiveison Figueiredo pretty much gets worn out. The third fight, Figueiredo finishes Moreno. Gets the win there. And now we're here at the quadrilogy. Oh, I can't hear you.
Cool, I can hear you.
All right, there he is. Yeah.
How about now?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, cool. There's a little delay on my end too, but yeah, quadrilogy. first time ever. Man, I'll be real. As a bettor, I didn't know how to feel about this one. This was another question mark for me. I mean, which makes sense in a quadrilogy. Both guys have one and they've drawn, so it's like, and I also didn't want to bet with my heart. Like, I was really rooting for Moreno in this one, but I kind of, as a bettor, did kind of want to lean Figueiredo. So I didn't bet this one. I didn't really feel strongly. There was no juicy money line either way. Did you feel strongly coming into this one?
I honestly had thought Figueiredo might have a better final like fight out of the four of them. I did like the plus money on him. Now, granted, it was plus 110, so like still pretty much pick him.
No,
But
I feel you. Like a gun to my head, I had to bet it would have been Figueiredo.
right, and I had it that way too. I honestly thought decision as well. I thought these guys had fought enough times where they knew each other's tricks enough where they weren't going to get caught with like big stuff that was going to be fight ending. Now, granted, that is not to say that happened because I don't necessarily think that did happen. It ends in a different way than we both expected, I think. But I do want to give
Yeah.
Figueiredo this credit that his last 7 fights dating back to February of 2020 are all for the belt in this weight class.
No, Figueiredo is this weight class. He's also no longer this weight class. We'll get to that. Interesting, man. I don't know. I both love and hate this, bro, because I have been, anybody who watches our podcast knows that I've been pretty on the record as not being super stoked on this quadrilogy and that it's kind of holding up the division and it's kind of making the rest of the fights in the division irrelevant and blah, 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 blah. But when it came fucking time for me to actually watch this, I was giddy as a schoolgirl. Like, as a UFC fan, I was fucking stoked for it. It's like, zoom way in, this is awesome. Zoom way out, it gets less awesome. In the moment, I was excited. I was invested as a fan.
Oddly enough, I was super juiced for the fight once it was actually like upon us, but like the whole time, I didn't care about it as like a build up or a hype. I was like, I just need to see them fight.
Me too. I think we felt the exact same way. But when that time came, you can't say that it didn't fucking give me a certain feeling.
It definitely felt good to know like we're gonna get an answer here.
Yes, we did. And I think we did get an answer here. There's people out there arguing that we didn't, blah, blah. Henry Cejudo, I saw his tweets. We'll get to it. It's not unbiased. He trains Figueiredo. So, round one, 10-9 Moreno. He got 2 takedowns. He is more active. The body work. Figueiredo had kind of a heel hook that seemed to be somewhat deep at the end of the round. Moreno got out of it. Didn't seem to inflict any damage. Also, bullshit, should have been a point deduction. Round one should have been a 10-8. Figueiredo head kicked Moreno when they were both on the ground.
Yeah, what was up with that?
Obvious.
Like up kicked him right in the face. Like it was very obvious.
Should have been a point deduction. That was horseshit. That should have been a 10-8 round through the point deduction, not from what Moreno did.
And then Moreno looked at the ref like, did you not see it? And then nothing ever happened from that, which I found very odd.
That was bullshit. That was bullshit.
Okay, so then I had it 10-9 as well. I think you broke that round down great. I thought round 2 was pretty odd start because Figueiredo immediately got the takedown, which surprised me. Granted, Moreno got up quickly. They had great grappling exchanges in round 2. Figueiredo almost got that guillotine. It was pretty deep. Moreno dug deep, survived it. I thought won the rest of the round after that. I scored the round 10-9 to Moreno, although I thought Figueiredo definitely had moments, and if you valued that guillotine and thought it was that close, maybe you give it to him, but I did not.
No, for sure. I gave it round 2 Moreno. He had 2 takedowns of his own. I thought he won a lot of the scrambles. I thought he was more active with the ground and pound. Activity, pace was a big theme of this whole fight, bell to bell.
Every single judge gave round 2 to Figueiredo.
Horseshit.
Yeah.
That guillotine.
Yeah, that blows my mind.
No, that's whack, bro. We both did it. We'll tell you all you need to know. Rock with the Beefy Boys on this. Seriously, we wouldn't lie to you.
Yeah, no, I think we have more accurate scorecards very much more often.
Like, all of them, Figueiredo, what a missed guillotine, and then you got taken down and beat up? Like, what?
Yeah, I don't understand how he won the round on that. Yeah, I agree with you. So we both have it 20 to 18, but all the judges have it a tie fight going into the final 3.
Horseshit.
Now, granted, that being said, round 3, Moreno starts pretty much messing Figueiredo up. Hurts him with that huge left to the eye with the glove.
Oh,
That
yeah, did he mess him up below?
I did he. I don't think he eye poked him like that.
I was talking about because messing instead of fucking, he kind of sounded like
Oh
Braun
yeah,
Ball.
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. He fudged him up
He
with the
fucked
glove.
him up.
No, but I mean, it was one of those things of like Moreno just hit it like clean on the knuckle line, like on Figueroa's open eye, and like just shut his eye up, and like I mean, literally closed it up. And then Figueredo tried to argue an eye poke, and like yeah, there was a little bit of a graze with the finger,
It was
but
to the other eye.
that was
That's the
my
thing.
thing.
If you
Is the
watch it,
graze with the
yeah,
finger was the other eye.
exposed. Very Munoz O'Malley esque. At least I'm glad this didn't end that way. I would have been super pissed if this was a no contest, which means we would have got five. Fuck off. Anybody, including Senator Henry Cejudo fans that are rooting for a no contest or trying to plead that case, go fuck off. Ain't nobody got time for 5 fights, 1-2 guys. Yeah, you're right. I thought it was the punch. The poke was to the opposite eye. It was obviously not that significant since he was grabbing the eye that was punched. Um, I do gotta say, even as a guy who thought that the damage was done by a punch, a little bit anticlimactic. This fight ends to a doctor stoppage in between the third and fourth round.
Granted, his eye was fully shut, so it wasn't like I
Yeah,
wasn't the most upset about it, and it did come from a punch. So I was like, well, he didn't have damage to finish him, but it was anticlimactic as fuck in the way that
yeah,
finish comes.
it wasn't any Alex Comaine type of things going on, any acting, but it was, like I said, just anticlimactic. Like I said, not cheap, not this, not anything. Like it's legit. It's a TKO win for Moreno. But there'll always be that little lawyer ball argument. You know what I'm saying? And it's just to have 4 fights and not to have like a stamp clear resolution. Like the door is ever so slightly cracked for number 5. I hate that. Yeah, I mean Moreno's the champ, which I love. I love having Moreno as the champ. I think he's fun. I think he's likable. I think he's relatable. I mean, there's not enough nice things I can say about Moreno. I think he's a better champ than Figueiredo because he does more media. He brings more eyes to the division. I mean, he works with ESPN, and you know
He's
what I
more
mean?
likable. He's more likable personality.
Figueiredo takes his belt to the Amazon, and we never see it again. But Moreno, you know, he's more out of the eye. He does some commentary, some bids, some work with ESPN. So you know what I mean? He's a good champ. He's a great champ. He does all the things you want your champ to do.
Absolutely, we need to keep him safe during these Mexican cartel wars. Definitely a person of interest.
Wild shit.
Now, speaking of cartel wars, let me ask you, what do you think of the Brazilian fans and the way they treat him on his exit?
Don't love it. Get it, but don't love it. It's like if the Yankees win a World Series at Sox, you know, type of situation.
I just feel like covering him in
like,
beer and food sucks.
no, I hated it. I'm a Moreno guy. I mean, I'm a Mexican. I fucking hated it.
Granted, he was like loving it. Like I don't know if you saw his
Yeah,
reaction. Like he was
I
loving it.
did. Which made it more palatable, which is what Moreno does, right? He makes things palatable.
He
Great
is
champ.
really good
Great.
for that, like making bad situations good because he's just such like a positive, happy guy.
Yes, for sure, man. And said I'm glad to have Moreno as champ.
I think the
Yeah,
next
this is
matchup's
weird.
easy.
They
Yeah.
were chirping after the fight.
Pantoja, he has a loss to him.
They had some kind of verbal altercation, I think, after the fight too. Like Pantoja was in the building, being Brazilian.
Being Brazilian.
So you know, I do think that lines up nice, and I'm all here for it. Like I'm so here for it. You know how stoked I am to have a flyweight title fight that's not Moreno Figueiredo. Like seriously, like that's awesome. And then you know if Moreno defends against Pantoja, it lines up with the Car France rematch, which. But see, and then you got Nicolau. I need Nicolau to like make himself very loud, very relevant. You know
Well,
what may be fucking awesome?
if
Is if
Nicolau hasn't,
Nicolau Albazi, like, contenders match, even though they're 5-7, that's my, like, if you want to get any fresh blood, like, into the situation and move on past the Figueiredo Moreno era, you got to get one of those two guys involved. You either got to get Albazi involved or Nicolau involved and make them the next Pantoja. You don't got to make them the next Figueiredo, but you can make them the next Pantoja, if you know what I'm saying.
well, and the UFC is going to try to force feed us Royval somehow.
They always do, and they'll always pull out of the fight. Like, get hurt, something. Like, I'm a little bit over it.
Yeah, me too. So I'm with you. I like your breakdown,
I
but
got it.
nah, I'm with you. I'm with you. But let's push it to the main event because I think this is like gratification for you here.
Yeah, man. We got Jamahal Hill -140 favorite, number 7th ranked light heavyweight, which just sounds weird, fighting for the title, but makes sense. Like, definition of rankings aren't everything. Like,
Yeah, especially in the
7,
situation currently.
purely rankings driven, rankings McGee. There's no like argument to make 7, but if you have a feel on the pulse of the MMA community and the light heavyweight division, it made sense.
Yeah.
Or am I wrong?
I'm just looking at there's no other division where a number 7 could fight for the belt right now. Literally not a one.
Makes it weird, but like I said, yeah, if you have a valid understanding of the light heavyweight division and the recent history of the light heavyweight division, it does make sense.
But it's kind of like a weird 7, right? Because like there is no champ, so really he'd be 6 if there was a champ. And then it's also like Jan and Uncle Ev, who would be 2 and 3, have a draw, and they already tried to do it, so they have to go sit and wait. Like, sorry you guys, couldn't get it figured out. It's your problem. Anthony Smith has had every chance on fucking earth. And so it was pretty much
and
like...
And then Rocket's just coming off the injury.
Right. And so, yeah, exactly. Rocket's off an injury. So Glover's the only guy up. And then, so they're literally like going down the list, like, who's Glover going to fight? Well, here it is. It's fucking Jamahal Hill.
The last 2 men standing, right? So even though it was 7 versus 2, it was the only 2, like, pass a physical and fight for a belt. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt, man. No doubt. But, like, honestly, with the way these odds are for this fight, I mean, Vegas did no justice on the odds for this fight.
You're right, and I felt that way, and I was stoked to get Jamahal Hill at -140. I mean, 43 versus what's Jamahal Hill, 28, 29, 27?
Yeah, let me look real fast. It's a good question.
I mean, the age alone is like a strong betting tendency.
Well, and he's 12 and 1. He is 31.
He's 31. Okay, so he's not a spring chick, but still, when you're fighting a 43-year-old, might as well be.
Still, let me just run a few of these fight stats by you real fast. Jamahal Hill threw 419 strikes, landed 248.
Light heavyweight record, right? Broke the record for strikes landed by a light heavyweight.
Had 3.
Yeah, you're right. This is a fight that we don't necessarily have to go round by round on. There's just kind of 2 questions, but I'll keep going.
So, Glover, 2 of 17 on takedown attempts.
The Jamahal Hill takedown defense will be the forgotten story of this fight. The strike numbers will be the flashy headline and the record broken. The takedown defense is what won him the title. Because when Glover was on top, bro, my butthole got tight.
Oh, yeah, but Jamahal Hill looked pretty good on bottom.
Yeah, I'll push back though. He looks good because he was able to get back to his feet. On bottom, he looked like dog shit. Now, you could argue that's kind of one and the same, and getting back to your feet is being good on bottom. But as far as, like, offering type of threat from the bottom, reversal, submission-wise,
True.
it wasn't going to happen. Now, he was able to kind of athlete his way back up to the feet, which is awesome. It's what makes him special because he is a plus athlete.
I think somehow I value that. Maybe more than I should, but I do. The fact that he's able to just get up like that.
No, it's impressive as fuck. Seriously, especially against Glover. Let me ask you this. I have 2 questions for you. How many 10-8 rounds for Hill did you have, and did you have any rounds for Glover? Is really how we got to frame this, because it was one sided. Jamahal Hill put on a
So
clinic, but like a brutal clinic. Like Glover had success. Glover's not an easy night out. It was a war.
so I had the fourth round 10-8 for Hill. I had every round before that to Hill. So at that point, I had it 40-35. Now going into number 5, I honestly thought Glover and Hill had a good fifth round. I thought that might have been the close round of the fight. Um,
It was for sure.
I actually scored it to Glover, which I thought it was crazy.
Me too.
Really?
Round five to Glover.
I didn't know if it was like a sympathy round or what, but like,
We are humans.
I thought that I thought Glover did enough in round 5, man. I thought that he got the early takedown. I know Hill slipped out the back and kind of reversed the position. Fought a good fifth round, but I thought Glover might have fought the better fifth round.
You know what though? You know what may have actually been Glover's best round of the fight, which nobody will give him credit for. It may have been his second round.
Second round, yeah.
Round 2 was a bang.
It started out so good for him and then just ended so
Dude,
badly.
When he cut Jamahal Hill's eye, right?
Yeah, that's when he got the big damage underneath the eye.
Yeah, like he was fired. Round 2 was a banger, dude. Like round 2 was Prohaska Glover-esque. You know what I'm saying?
Glover has a crazy chin. Like this was up there for chin of the year as well, I thought.
Has to be.
Well, especially when you see Hill's power. Like consider.
We have two finalists off of one card. Like seriously, I know
Yeah.
we're caught up in the moment and it's only January, but goddamn, Lauren Murphy and Glover Teixeira, like, I honestly hope nobody around for their money because that's bad for them if they do.
Yeah, and like apparently, once again, DC was saying after round 4, like this should be stopped. We don't need to see this anymore. Like he went back to old save the fighter DC.
Yeah, for sure. So I gave round 3 as well a 10-8 to Hill. I know nobody really agrees with me. I don't think anybody had that scorecard but me. Round 3, bro, the head kicks, so gnarly. These were gnarly. There was ground and pound in there. Round 3 was the fight was almost stopped 2 separate times. Round 3 was debatably more brutal than round 4. I think the only reason round 4 looked so bad optically was because of how bad round 3 actually was. Like I'll debate that round 3 was a more brutal ass whooping than round 4.
That might be fair, man. So like you have a 49-44.
I do, which nobody has, and it's a weird scorecard. Or people that did have 49-44 got it in a different way.
I don't hate it necessarily, but I will say that it's funny. Both of us thought Glover did enough in round 5 after getting so badly beaten in 3 and 4. Because 3 I was teetering on a 10-8.
I think 2 things can be mutually true. I think that the fight should have been stopped after 4, and that Glover won round 5. Like I'm in the like rare part of the Venn diagram where that overlaps.
Yeah, and I also think that in future, I'm not gonna. Now, granted, not in Glover's case here, obviously, but in future fight scenarios, like I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna like back off the take of like that should be stopped. Like I still think that should have probably been stopped, even though he won the 5th round.
It should have been stopped. The cut. I mean, I've literally seen cuts less than Glover's stop fights. Now, granted, the cut, man, it wasn't bleeding, but it was like a chunk of meat. Like, it was how the cut man got that to not actually bleed is like witchcraft. It was like a 2-inch wide. Like, you could have fit like multiple fingers in there. Like, it was a big gaping hole.
I like you're like it's witchcraft. I mean, it really is. Like it's pretty crazy.
Wasn't bleeding, like right, like at least at the start of 5, like in between 4 and 5, they stopped the bleeding, but there was just like his eyebrow was just like dangling piece of meat.
Yeah, it was bad. Like Glover got beaten brutally, man, and like Jamahal Hill wins the belt, has a terrific celebration. Like clearly enjoys the moment, feels the moment, understands what it is, what it means to him, everything he's worked for. I mean, got there pretty quick too. You know what I mean? 12-1 in his career. The one weird loss to Paul Craig, so like, not the worst loss to have, honestly. Like, it's not one where you're like, you can be like, yeah, this guy beat him over so many rounds. It was like, well, he just got caught.
He got caught. Definition of getting caught. The light heavyweight's so weird because he's back in 6 months. That's the obvious fight. Teixeira retires, which we got to mention. I mean, I feel more about the Teixeira retirement than I feel about the Shogun retirement, just because I was around. Like, I witnessed the Glover era. I mean, the start of it, not really, but the end of it, he was so relevant up until the very end. Like, in the Beefy Boy era, Glover's been super relevant, and we've watched a ton of his fights. Can't say the same for Shogun.
Yeah, Shogun was irrelevant by the time we were 14. Whereas Glover was like still fighting guys like Rumble Johnson and having like epic moments.
Yes. What makes this kind of debate, conjecture, fallout so weird is the glaring obvious. The number one contender at 205, at least until Yuri's healthy. Do you disagree? I'm talking about Alex Pereira, by the way, for the casuals out there.
I don't disagree, but it's going to be so hard to deny Ankalaev and Blachowicz that opportunity once they fight each other again.
But that, it's kind of it's a win-win, but it's also annoying.
Also, I think Pereira needs to defend his belt at 70 first before he can go up.
85, but point taken.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Matchmaking wise, I think you can make the Hill Pereira fight sooner than you can make Pereira Adesanya, because A, Pereira needs a lot of time to make that weight. B, Adesanya has given zero indication that he's like trying to get back in there soon. He said he will, but he's given zero indication as like soon or when or any of that. I don't disagree that Poatan probably, it would be a better look if he defended 85 and then went up to 205. But it's this thing where we all know Poatan's a 205er. Like, we all know. Like, it's the cat's out of the bag. It's like more so than Costa or Chimaev. Like,
here's
the actual one.
Here's what I think is the rough part for Jamahal Hill, like the rough truth. I think Pereira beats him, and I think Prochazka beats him.
See, I think Pereira beats him. I do. I think that, but I also think it's a fucking awesome fight. He just does what Jamahal Hill does better than Jamahal Hill does it, right?
And he can leg kick way better.
Prochazka, post-injury...
Yeah, we'll have to see.
...as sold on. I know you're the ultimate Prochazka stroke master. I won't rob you of that title. You're doing your duty here, sir.
Skiing out here.
Prochazka stroker. I love Prochazka. All I can think of when I look at Jamahal Hill is how awesome he looks standing across from Prochazka. Like, that fight is fucking sick. Pretty similar guys, I think, in a lot of regards. As much as they're not similar. I think body type, strikers.
Yeah, that's what I think is the physical matchup is so much fun between those two.
They match up on paper, reach, height, weight, very well.
Fight style is super interesting because Jamahal Hill's so disciplined and Yuri's so not. Like, he baits you to not be.
Pereira stroke jobber?
I think Pereira probably beats both of them, but I think that all three of them have very fun fights. Like, no matter how they fight.
You said a lot of nice things about all the contenders. I'll say a nice thing about Jamahal. I'll make a Jamahal hot take. I think Jamahal whoops Ankalaev's ass.
Yeah, I think Ankalaev gets beat up by Jamahal Hill after seeing how Ankalaev... Well, that's because Hill has great takedown defense that we've now seen.
And I think the same could be said for Blachowicz and Rakic as well. And a lot of people consider those guys like essentially number one contenders. Like, I think Hill beats Ankalaev, Blachowicz, and Rakic. Yuri, up in the air, kind of coin toss, like, I like Pereira, which is wild to fucking say. Like, the most confident pick I have to dethrone Hill is the 185-pound champ. But he's not a real 185er. Like,
Yeah, he's like,
we're
yeah.
saying Shemaev and Costa, like, we've given our opinions on that. Pereira is not a 185er. Like, he's just not. Like, he's running like 240.
Crazy, though, that like, matchups-wise.
He's bigger than Jonathan Almeida.
That is crazy that Jonathan Almeida and that's so wild.
He's like Jonathan Almeida probably a little faster next to Peloton.
I wonder if they just fought and like in the street they're like walking around weight, how that would go. That'd be awesome.
So good. So good. Especially there's a Brazilian, ass twerking around.
Oddly enough, though, I think Shemaev could beat Poatan at 185.
But could he beat him at 205?
No. That's the weird thing.
Yeah, it's the weird thing. I agree. It's so fun. It's so fun. I'm glad to have Peloton at the table, bro. It's like the thing that we didn't want, but that we needed, if that makes sense.
Well, it's like with the death of Glover's force in the UFC, where he's like giving us Alex Pereira, essentially. And like he already said,
Pereira was pulling a DC. Like, DC wouldn't fight at heavyweight because of Kane. Peloton wouldn't fight a light heavy because of Glover. Glover retired. It's happening. Like, it may happen next. Like, we may never see Peloton at 185 again. He may vacate. I see a scenario, if they guarantee him the Hill fight, that he vacates 185, and then...
And it is the...
For middleweight.
It is
and
the...
then you do Hamza Izzy for middleweight vacant.
But do you reward Hamza right now? How can you?
You do. No, you do.
How can you?
How can you? What are you mad at him for? He's a middleweight.
He just misses weight like that, and Cannonier just got a great.
Welterweight.
And Cannonier just got such a good win.
You think about it. If you just change the verbiage on he missed welterweight into he made middleweight.
Yeah, and I don't want to see Izzy Cannonier again. You're so right. He changed the verbiage. He made middleweight.
He made middleweight. He's a middleweight. What's the issue?
All right, that's fair. When you say it that way.
You do a Hamza? That's a pay-per-view main event. I mean, that's...
that sells so many pay-per-views. Holy shit.
Jerking off to that. That's amazing. You get to have your cake and eat it, too. Because usually, you're right. Peloton not defending the middleweight belt is weird, but the Glover retirement, the Kane DC element, we all know he's a light heavy.
And him having beaten Izzy 3 times. He doesn't need to prove it again to me.
What if you do it on the same fucking card? What if you do Peloton Hill and Izzy Shemaev on the same card?
You're talking about like July maybe? God damn.
Awesome. Fucking Money Moicano, fucking awesome.
Put Money Moicano on that card.
Do it. That's bad, bro. But no, seriously, man, it's been a fun episode. A lot of fun fallout. A lot of people, I've been seeing a lot of comment section saying Hill won't defend the belt, Hill won't defend the belt. And I think he defends it against anybody not named Peloton, to be honest. I think if they give Ankalaev the next shot, if they give Yuri, like I said, it'd be weird to see him wait for Yuri when there's so many options.
Yeah, I think waiting for Yuri would be weird.
But like Rocket, he beats. I think Ankalaev, he beats. I think Prohaska, he beats.
I think Anthony Smith.
Yeah, Anthony. Oh, for sure. Prohaska. I think Jamahal Hill beats the dog shit out of Prohaska, who is currently ranked 1. You wouldn't think about it by the conversation that we just had, but Prohaska is ranked 1. So I think Jamahal Hill dog walks Prohaska.
No. Yuri?
I do.
All right, you're crazy. That's fine. We'll wrap on that. I can't wait to see how the rankings fall out and how everything shapes up here on Tuesday. We'll obviously address it here this next week. What's the next card we have? It's Lewis Spivak.
It's the shitty Lewis Spivak fight night.
And that's actually 2 weeks away.
Some fucking mark out there is paying $800 to go see, right?
Yeah, and Derek Lewis is plus 190.
No fight next week?
Nope, we're off next week. And also,
Oh, shit.
this card was. Do you know about the timing of this next card, right?
Late at night, right? I think it starts at like 10 p.m. West Coast.
Starts
11
10
West
p.m.
Coast.
your time, 1 a.m. East Coast.
So it'll be midnight your time. That's a weird one.
You know why?
Because they're trying to increase cocaine sales, or
This card was originally booked in Korea, and then Zombie fell off the card, and then moved it out of Korea back to United States.
who the fuck was Zombie gonna fight in the main event?
I have no idea, but listen to some of the guys that
Bro.
fight. Listen to some of the people that fight on this: Tatsuhiro Taira, Jung Young Park,
Bullshit.
Ji Young Kim, Sunguk Choi versus Hyung Sung Park, Rinya Nakamura, Toshiomi Kazama, Yi Za.
Say this was supposed to be in Asia.
Yeah, like how obvious is it? And then the main card is Kinoshita and Fugit. That guy's hilarious, that name. Duho Choi fights Kyle Nelson.
I
Marshin.
can't believe that's on the main card, dude. Fuck off. I mean, Taburo Ivanov actually is like a pretty important match for the heavyweight division, especially with guys like Almeida kind of entering the fold. So, Taburo Ivanov, I'm here for.
And then Daun Jung Devin Clark.
Fuck off with that.
And Spivak Lewis.
Fucking whack, dude. Like this card. I like Jiyoung Kim. I guess. Like he probably. I guess. And Iron Turtle, our boy Iron Turtle's fighting. Tatsuro Taira. I'm a Taira guy. I like watching Taira. He's fighting Jesus, so that's cool. But I can't believe people are like paying money to. Oh no, this says C-Pro. I don't think it says T-Mobile. I'm seeing the Apex on the UFC's website.
Oh, okay.
I'm seeing Apex.
Nice.
That makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
Like, there's no way people are buying tickets. That's why the tickets were that much, because it's like a VIP experience.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Still a garbage card, though. But we'll be here to break it down, because we do not miss Beefy Boys Breakdown. Subscribe. We'll be here for every card. We always are.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Brother, have a